Today I'm going to be tying up the Cloghan Cascade. So it's a Cascade variant that originates from the banks of the River Finn in Donegal. So just added on white thread, and for the tag and the rib I'm going to use silver. Okay, so I'm just putting that silver wire on underneath. You could also use silver oval tinsel, it's entirely up to yourself. But I just think the wire is a bit more durable and it's a lot cheaper as well. So I'm just going to turn it a few times, probably about half a dozen or so here, and then once I'm happy I would tuck that in underneath. That'll give me a very durable tag and a nice trigger point for the fish. Okay, I then tuck that in again underneath and bring it back. Okay, now you could have a green butt or a green tag, it's entirely up to yourself. I'm going to just tie in the tail for now and then add on a butt. So the tail for the fly is typical Cascade colours. So it's bucktail mixed, yellow bucktail and orange bucktail mixed. Okay, and I have some here. I have a few favourites that maybe are just a wee bit short. And I've also teased out one or two just to give a wee bit of a taper. Okay, lengthwise, I like to have it about twice the length of the shank. And I'm going to tie it on a few mil before where I'm actually going to be tying it in on. And that's just so then I don't have to worry about it splaying. Okay, make a wee adjustments if needs be. Okay, and then I'm going to get a couple of strands of crystal flesh. This is pearl. Okay, and I'm going to put that on top. And then I'm going to double it. So just do one turn with the pearl and then double it. And that means you have 4 strands of pearl. You might only use 1 or 2 strands. It's up to yourself, but it's also dependent on the size of the hook. And this is a size 10, which for me is quite big. So I'm going to put on a bit of flesh. Okay, the last thing I do is put on a bit of super glue under the thread. Probably about an inch of the thread. Okay, and this means that super glue will help hold that tail as well as the thread, which means I don't need to apply too much pressure. Okay, and as well as that, I can hold this tail up a little bit. Okay, and as that super glue dries, it might just give a small kick. Won't be much, but it can make all the difference between having a fly that'll wrap with bad casting and windy days. Okay, and I'm going to just continue holding this. And I'm going to neaten up and try and level this body as much as I can. Because it's a tinsel body, it's a full tinsel body. And the more level the body is, the easier it'll be. Okay. Now then. As well as that, as I said earlier, I'm going to add on a butt. So the butt of the fly is going to be fluorescent green or chartreuse, it's entirely up to yourself. Okay, and it's just a few turns. I've doubled it up here. You can also varnish this as well, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the silver wire over it as a part of the rib. I think I've said before in a few videos, I'm going to trial this year with not varnishing the butts, as a lot of people swear that it's not as effective for UV whenever you cover it with varnish. Okay, and again, just making sure that's a nice level body. Okay, so for the body I'm going to use silver, and I'm going to use holographic silver. Okay, just going to cut that off. And I'm going to add that on top as the wire's on below. Okay, and what I like to do for this kind of body is put a little bit of super glue on the thread, which will help hold that tinsel down, make it more durable. Okay. It'll also help if, for example, it starts to slip because there's a few lumps and bumps in the body. while I'm doing this, folks, if you haven't already done so, can you hit that subscribe button below the video, just so I'm running up the body. It costs you nothing, but it really helps the video and the channel grow and expose it to more people. It helps YouTube with the recommendations. Thanks very much. Okay, so I've just tying that in. Okay, and then we get our scissors. Just tying that to cut the thread, as I've done before. Okay, neaten things up, and then we just bring our wire. So the first wire, or first rib, we'll go around the butt, and then we'll just start to rib the body then. Okay, if you find the last rib is close to the head, as it is here, I just like to build up the thread a little bit, so it means that the rib doesn't kick up the wing too much. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here now. Then for the wing, some people use badger. Hard to get badger now. I think you get the American badger, but you can't get badger in the shops. So I'm going to use a good substitute, which is grey squirrel. Okay, I'm just going to make sure it's not too thick a piece. Okay, I'm going to just remove all the underfur. Okay, the only thing I don't like about the grey squirrel is it doesn't compress well. But I'll show you a way around this now. Okay, so I'm going to cut, to save me having to cut later on, I'm going to just cut what'll be my excess now. And I'm going to just take these ends and put on as a pincer loop. And just secure those in like that there. Okay, just check them happy at both sides. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is a bit of super glue, as even wax thread doesn't hold squirrel down too well, which is another reason why fox is getting a lot more popular whenever it comes to tying up cascades. Okay, so the hackle, a little bit different from a typical cascade. The first hackle is actually orange as opposed to yellow. Okay, and because I still have a tacky super glue, I don't need to wax my thread. I'm happy enough tying on top of that there, and then bringing those fibres back in on themselves. Which will mean that it's secured twice. Okay, then I'm just going to tease those fibres to go inwards. Okay, and depending on the size of fly, you can do a few wraps. I'm going to do probably 3 wraps. So I think I've done 2 already, and then the last wrap will finish me off. Okay, you can do, you'll probably notice, this is actually more of a habit for park shrimps. I don't think the cascade originally is like this, but the first hackle, or the under hackle, is usually a good bit longer on a park shrimp for a bit more movement. So I've tied it in like that there this time round. And then I'm going to use a shorter front hackle, and the front hackle is actually, it's yellow badger. So again, I break off the tip, expose a few fibres, and I will use wax this time. Okay, and tie in at that break a few turns, and then bring those fibres back over. Okay. And I'll probably do a couple of turns of this hackle too. Be more than enough. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, because I know I've got one more turn left, just going to remove what I suspect will be the excess to give me a neater finish. Just like that. Okay. A few turns skewered in. I'm going to go forward, and then I'm going to bring that all back, including the stalk, and tie in on top of that there. Not on top of the hackle stalk, but on top of the, or not on top of the fibres, but on top of the stalk, so that's more secured. Okay, so I'm just going to do a whip finish and I'll change the thread. Okay, so I'm just going to add on a single layer floss. In this case it is glow braid. Okay, and this is going to form a very bright head, which will be a lovely trigger as well. Okay, so build up that head a few turns, and then just use your whip finish to get the last few turns. And that is your Cloghan Cascade, folks. Hopefully you found that useful. As always, if you did, check out my other videos coming up on screen now, and do share with your friends and family. Okay, thanks, and until next time, all the best.